Welcome to the Mad Black Dad podcast, and I am him, Mad Black Dad. This is episode 4. Got a neat little background going on, playing with something new, see how it goes. And I just really want to talk about I'm gonna put it like this. The most important things I've learned about being a black man, some of the most important things I've learned about being a black man, I've actually learned from a black woman. 3 black women to be exact. Nikki Giovanni, Bell Hooks, and my wife. She's definitely going to be one of them. But like, it's just how it is, right? And there's no disrespect to the men that have come before me or the men that have supported me and helped raise me to be the man that I am today. And I am quite proud of that man, who I am. But let's be honest, right? Or if I'm being honest, at least, women have contributed to that. Specifically, black women have contributed to that. And this is just a little bit how they have contributed to, me. Because yes, the Mad Black Dad is a thing, but it really wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for some of the work that they have done, knowingly or unknowingly. Well, granted, I don't think Bell Hooks or Nikki Giovanni knows what they've done for me, but I know that Leah does. And we're just going to talk about that for a bit, or I'm going to talk about that for a bit. So, starting with Nikki, the first thing that she taught me, and again, she has no idea that I know this, is like the power of presence. So in 71, if we can go back, of course, it's way before me, but she had a conversation with James Baldwin, and a couple years ago, maybe about 5 years ago or so, I found this video on YouTube, or it found me maybe, and it was their conversation that was on the TV show Soul, and I love that interview. I love it because the way that they were able to just kind of go back and forth, and they could agree with each other and also disagree with each other and like push back and challenge each other, it created it was like this really safe space for a black man and a black woman to really talk about their ideologies, and they can like push back against each other without being disrespectful or or even like being toxic, right? Because you could be toxic without disrespecting the other person, and there's a little roundabout ways. But when we look at how we have conversations with how men and women have conversations nowadays, especially in this social media podcast era where everybody has an opinion and everybody needs to get their stuff off, and Kevin Samuels has created monsters, and out of black men and women, I don't think he's only affected men. I think this idea of a high value man and what men bring to the table and what women bring to the table, I think these conversations are loaded and also misleading. But in this conversation with Nikki and James Baldwin, we don't see that there so much. I mean, there are some times where they like kind of pull rank on each other, but I like it. So in this conversation, they start talking about like black love and the black relationships, and how men and women kind of deal with each other, or even forced to deal with each other. And he talked about, James Baldwin talked about, there was a point where he said, society as we know it, even back then, but even to this day, have this ideology that a man is supposed to provide like in a financial fashion. And if a man doesn't do that, then he is not a man, or he's less than a man. And if I'm dating this woman and she's expecting me to provide because that's what men do, and I can't provide for whatever reason, I no longer want to like deal with this woman. I want to like I distance myself. I disappear. I fall away, or I fall back, And that also includes like men that had families. So you'd see a man with a woman and a child, or a wife and a child, and he can't provide. He feels less than a man, so he skips. He skips out. He disappears. He goes ghost, and next thing you know, he's left this family high and dry. He's left his child, his wife, or significant other high and dry, in pursuit of whatever a man is supposed to be, or escaping, or to escape that reality that in this space he's a man that just doesn't have what he needs to sustain himself or his family, and that makes him feel like less than a man, so he leaves, because who wants a man that isn't a man? And in that notion, here's the pushback that Nikki Giovanni gave, was essentially like, yeah, but you have more to offer as a man. Like, you don't. She needed you more than just for the money. She needed your thought equity, your physical presence, your emotional presence, and by becoming so obsessed with this idea that men can only provide in a financial aspect, you actually lose out on all the other things that you are able to provide. And then when you skip out on that, the family misses out on that. So now we have a family that is actually in need. The children are in need. The wife is in need, because men have more to offer. Men have more to offer than the financial support. And if I'm being like transparent about this in this space, it's like, even in times where I would have a job, or even I didn't have a job, I would also like disappear, but not in a physical term. Like, I wouldn't like dip and leave my family high and dry, but like I would mentally check out, or even maybe even like emotionally check out, and Leah would like, no, like, we need you, like, I need you here, Dom needs you here. I mean, this was before Dion, but even still a little bit with her being here too now, it's like, we cannot afford like for you to just not be here. We need you to like check back in. And I'd be so caught up, like, I don't have this, I don't have that, I'm not here for you, or at least I don't feel like I'm here for you. I'm not making enough, I'm not doing enough. And I would feel like less than a man, or feel less than the husband that I should be, or even that they need me to be, or the father that Dom needs me to be and Dion needs me to be. And I would really like hark really heavy on myself, to the point that it was like really detrimental. But I would be lacking that presence that was like necessary. So that's like that has been my thing, and the thing that I like consistently work through. And the thing that I picked up is like probably one of the more important things. It's like, one, as a man, I can provide more than just money. And that's not to say that like, oh no, I don't have to provide money, because I absolutely do. Like, I still have to have my job, I still have to like bring in this money, or try to bring in more money. But on top of that, right, that's not the only thing. That's not the whole pie. That is only a piece of the pie. And I can still be here, physically, of course. I can still be here mentally. I can still be here emotionally. There's other levels of support that I can provide as a man. And, society is just not talking about that, It's just about money, money, money. If a man don't make X amount of dollars, he's not a high value man. Or if, he's not doing this or doing that, or making whatever, he's not a man. And that's simply not true. The truth of the matter is like, you bring in this amount, and hopefully that's what your family needs to sustain. But you also have other things to provide. You also have other things that you can do, and your presence is necessary more than just inside of the bank account. It's also present physically in the home. Is also present like in their minds and in their hearts. So that was huge for me. That was huge for me. And when I sat down and I talked to Leah, like, I saw this video and it was crazy, and it meant so much. It's like, how do you feel about this? She was like, that's what I've been trying to tell you this whole time. And I'm like, oh, like, I had no idea. And it's like I had to, like, hear it from, in some other space, and maybe in just like a different language or so, for me to like fully grasp it. And it was wild that, it made too much sense. It made too much sense, and when I really think about it. So I don't know. I'm still working through it. I'm still talking about it, as you can tell. But I'm in a space now where I can like share about it and see how we can, keep doing this, or how I can keep growing. The second one, Bell Hooks, has written tons of books on like love and femininity, in terms of like I'm not really sure how to put it, but the best way I can really say it would probably just be that, at least what I've picked up is like, there's two sides to this like masculine feminine coin, right? Like there's a yin and a yang to it. We all have both, and the better we get at like working on that and finding that balance, the better off we'll be. Because like, let's be honest, fellas, guys, dads, like, you have a feminine side. So I know it'd be kind of hard to hear about it or talk about it, because everything is all rooted in masculinity and what men got to do. You got to be rah, tough, hard. This ego about us has to be like rock solid, and if we not, then we're looked at a certain way, or perceived to be a certain thing, and that's just not the truth. And there is a space for men to showcase, or even just simply express a more feminine side, or a softer side, and it's okay to love. It's okay to love, and it's understanding that some of us, not all of us, but some of us, really, we weren't shown love, not in a more romantic or intimate sense. Like, we know familial love for sure. For the most part, our parents, mom, dad, individually or both, have like shown us love, and our grandmothers and grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins, like, they've shown us this familial love. So we got that. We got that in the bag. But like this romantic or this intimate love that comes with somebody that is not your family, a lot of us haven't had that, don't know that experience, or don't even know what that looks like or how it should feel, because maybe we didn't really see it, we didn't have any examples of it, or the examples that we were shown were like terrible examples, like worst case scenarios. So now here we are, adults, attempting to find love, but really don't know what we're looking for, or we've found what we think is love in all of the wrong places. And the things that she wrote had really taught me that for a long time, I didn't really know like how to love, and I thought that I did. I do this, I say I love you, and we do this and that, and whoop whoop whoop. But some of that is cool and accurate, but all of it isn't really like, when it's encompassed all together, it's not really love. These are just like, here's some things, that you do, but it's like routine, and it doesn't have the intimacy, it doesn't have the intention that like love would. So, she taught me in some ways how to love. She taught me in some ways that like you can be softer, and you do have this softer side. Hate to say it, I guess, because act like we can't have it. We got to be hard, but there's a space for it. There's a space for it, and if you are operating or living in a space where you don't have it or you can't find it, then that's just not a safe space for you, and you have to, be able to create that space, or find a new space for it. And that's, I guess, scary, because it creates a degree of vulnerability. And of course, nobody wants to be vulnerable, because every time we try to show somebody, a softer side, or every time we try to be vulnerable and we told a secret that we got burned, or, whatever your individual story is. But we later find, or hopefully, that there is strength and support. You find you are the strongest when you are able to be vulnerable. And if you look at it, if I look at it like weightlifting, right? Okay, I'm whatever. Pick your heaviest weight. You benching it. You struggling with it. It's tough, but sometimes you get that spot. You're still doing most of the work yourself. You're just getting a little bit of support. So you're gonna get it. You just got to keep working at it. And that's the same thing with like being vulnerable and being emotionally intelligent. Yes, you are gonna get hurt. It may be difficult. It may be tiresome. But sometimes when you lean on somebody, you'll get that little bit of support, and that'll eventually in time it'll make you stronger. The more you keep working that muscle, that heart muscle in this case, the more you keep working it, the stronger it'll be. And we've seen that. We've seen that from time to time. And that's the way we have to operate. We always have to do our best to operate in love. We have to operate in this grace space. We have to operate with a willingness to be empathetic and to listen to ourselves, listen to our partners. And that's difficult when you don't know how, or when you've never tried to do it. And as men, we're like, well, we're fixers. We're fixers. Oh, somebody tell you this problem. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is try to give you the solution. Now you need to do this. Now you need to do that. And sometimes that's not what people want. Sometimes they just want to like, hey, I have this thing. I have this situation. I just need to share it. I just need to get it off my chest. I'm not looking for a solution. I just need to hear. And I think that's where a lot of men go wrong, because we do think we're supposed to fix everything, and sometimes it just takes us to stop and listen and consider and just be empathetic in this space, because that's what it be. So how can we be more empathetic? How can we lead with love? How can we showcase a more feminine side? Because our masculinity, or even our femininity, served us at some point. At some point, this is what you needed in order to survive the space you were in. And that made sense, because you were there and you needed this. And if you didn't, you wasn't going to make it. Maybe it was physically, maybe it was emotionally, or whatever. So you created this shield or this barrier to protect you as you went about in that space. But as you start entering other spaces, and you enter a space for love, and you enter a space of intimacy, you have to let down some of that masculinity, and you have to find new tools to serve you better. Because if you can't find that balance, you're probably not going to find that peace with yourself or with your relationship. So, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's just, let's figure that part out, This part is probably the hardest part, because it's something that I still struggle with. And it's the third, probably also the most important one, because they kind of tie into the others, is communication. And that's the one that my wife has taught me the most of, and she still be teaching me, and I still be straggling. I still be straggling, if I'm really honest about it. But not just like communication for sake of communication, but like communication through adversity, communication, being intentional. I don't know where that intentful came from. Being intentional about communication, and communicating when it's good, when it's bad, and everything in between. I just, I didn't come from a home that communicated. I didn't. And that's no disrespect to my parents. Every time I bring them up in a podcast or in a blog post, and I say something, they take it to heart. They take it to heart, and it's no shade against them. It's no ill will towards them. They did the best that they could with what they had, and we were all raised from something. We were all raised from something. So my dad was in the military, as this has been like so duly noted, but he was rigid. He was rigid. If I say it, do it. Or he wasn't so stiff that it had to be yes sir, no sir, but there was very little room for like the back and forth. So if he said it, and if I'm getting scolded because I didn't do right or I could have done better or whatever, that's it. So I just gotta take it on the chin and keep it moving. So now that I'm an adult, and I really struggled with this like in my 20s. Something goes wrong, I'm stuck. If we arguing, I'm stuck. I'm mute. I'm not talking. I don't know what to say. I'm froze. I'm a deer in headlights, and I'm gonna fall back. And that would piss Leah off. Oh my God, she hated that. She hated it because she felt like it was talking to a brick wall. And I'm like, you're not. I'm listening. I swear I'm listening. I'm stuck. And I've gotten better over the years where it's like I'm responding and I'm talking through the adversity. I'm talking through me being uncomfortable, because to this day I still hate it, but I can't not respond. I can't not communicate. I have to say something. I have to be and again, it can't just be anything, right? I have to be intentional about what I'm about to say. Am I responding to what's been said? Am I being empathetic to her feelings? Like, what am I doing? Because freezing and being stuck is not going to help me. It's not going to help me. It's not going to help her. It's not going to resolve the situation or move the situation forward. It took a long time, and I still struggle with it. But that's what it is. That's what it is. You just really, you have to work through it. You got to figure that shit out. You got to talk about it. And I think that, if I'm going back to the video with Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin, of course, in a lot of ways, they're orators. So, like, talking is something that they did. But there was a back and forth, and, like, they can have that pushback and that challenge about their ideology or their thought process, and boom, 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 boom. Like the response is thoughtful, but it's also quick. And it's important to be able to like have these things, say these things, be respectful, stand your ground, and communicate well your thoughts. I couldn't communicate my thoughts, and I think this one of the bigger pieces for like Mad Black Dad, the blog and now the podcast, is this is therapeutic. This is therapeutic beyond what I thought it would be, because I'm actively like talking out these things. It's been me, or I'm talking with my guys, or I'm talking to other dads. Like all of this stuff is therapeutic because I'm tackling all of these things. I'm communicating my thoughts openly. These are all thoughts, of course, that I've shared or am sharing, with Leah. But I'm also sharing these with other people as well, because to me, what's the point of gaining any inkling of knowledge but not sharing it? So if this worked for me, hopefully it works for you too. Or find something that does work for you. So, but this is where I'm at. Like, it's all very, very therapeutic for me, and I'm working through it, and I'm trying my best to be a better man for myself, be a better man for my wife, and be a better man for my kids, because they're watching me. They're watching everything that I do, so I have to do it well. I gotta do it with intention, and it's an interesting space that I'm maneuvering through right now, as I'm still trying to grow up, but I'm also raising at the same time. So it's like it's this constant build, build and create, build and destroy, like all at the same time. Like destroying my old habits, creating new ones, but also trying to establish something like brand new with these children. So this is the work, right? This is what we do. When we're saying that we're doing the work, is this it? This feels like the work. So I'm gonna just keep working, right? I'm gonna keep working, and I'm gonna invite others to continue to work with me or start working, because this is a thing. I am a mad black dad, but so is my homeboy who has 2 kids, or the guy down the street who has 3 daughters, or the man that's incarcerated and can't see his children. We're all mad black dads, but we all have similar yet different stories, and we all have journeys that we're on. So all of this is to create community, for them, for me, for them, and for the guys that will eventually be mad black dads. So I don't do this for me. I do this for us, because it's a collective journey, even though we are all in different spots or on different paths, but it's still on its own a collective journey. So I look forward to continue sharing my journey with you all. So I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. This has